What's going on, everyone? So I wanted to go live on this. It's been a pretty crazy day with everything going on. Tried to make a video earlier, but it just seemed a lot easier to collect thoughts and whatnot, and kind of push on with everything going on right now. Now, earlier, um, if you didn't know, whatever, if you're just kind of coming to this, uh, Scooby Wright dropping the bombshell of what's going on right now and everything like that. Scooby comes out. He posts a text of the, um, excuse me. He posts a text of the USFLPA, what they put out and what they had going on and everything like that, of the of what they put out to the USFLPA guys, and just to read it, go over it, and everything like that. It's coming out in several phases and whatnot. The initial tweet came out about 2 hours ago. I retweeted it. Everyone retweeted it. But long story short, it says, "Gentlemen, we have been given confirmation of the following surviving USFL teams for the 2024 season," and that's when he drops the bombshell of Michigan, Houston Gamblers, in addition to Memphis Showboats and the Birmingham Stallions. Coming up after that, it goes, coaches met today to finalize the remaining staff, as the Memphis head coach has been named, which was later confirmed to be John DeFilippo, who was with the Breakers last year, led them to the playoffs, and has been an assistant around the NFL for a couple of years. Scooby ended up putting more tweets out stating what was going on, talking about the phases and everything like that, and pretty much talking about the 3 phases that they're going to be moving forward. Each surviving USFL team shall designate which USFL contract players assigned that they designate as protective. A team can protect up to 42 players, within a period designated by the league. So more info on that will be coming out. Each surviving team shall notify each protected player of such status. And what's up, bud? How are you, dude? Appreciate the like. Throw some of your thoughts into this, man, because I know you're kind of in step with a lot of this, and if you can, share the link and all that stuff. But going into phase 2, following phase, each surviving team shall have the right to claim an additional protected players up to 20 for the surviving team. So we're up to 62 players on that roster, multiple claims for the same player, each surviving player, etc., etc. Kind of on that. Going into phase 3, and this is where it gets goofy. Larson put out all dispersed players all players during the thanks, Chris. I mean, I would do, and actually, let's teeter off that, Chris, and stay on that point. With these coaching staffs so small, you would think that they would try to do like some sort of internship, because there's so much goofiness going on right now that they're going to need additional hands and whatnot. They're going to need additional hands to like help out, just set up bags and whatnot. Do like a Bill Walsh internship with the XFL, USFL. John, yeah, man. I mean, I guess you can be partially unionized, if that makes sense. I'm curious to see how it was back in the day, like when the AFL and I don't know, did they do unions back then? That's something goofy in my opinion, but I'm not even 100% sure on that front. Still going, this dispersal draft is where I was off on the on the surviving teams. And I'm reading this verbatim right now, so bear with me. All players on a roster USFL team from the 23 season who are not protected, so you're looking at the remaining like 50 or so, shall be conducted a dispersal draft in 2024, including surviving teams and the surviving teams of the other league, obviously the XFL. And that will choose to participate non-contracted players who previously played in the USFL or any other professional football league. may be signed by the league prior to the dispersal draft for the purpose of participating in the dispersal draft. So that kind of goes back to what I've talked about before in my previous video about kind of how, these guys were signing with the breakers just to be in the pool. You got to be in it to win it type mentality and whatnot. Big thing I wanted to talk about as well is these player reactions. Scooby was being kind of edgy and whatnot. And, at this point, it's the reality is setting in. I mean, Reed Johnson of the Markcast, he put out the reality of this setting in when Thanos snaps his fingers. It gets a little goofy, if that makes sense. When all these guys are losing their jobs and whatnot. I mean, you're looking at, and I did some guesstimation math, you're looking at like almost 350, 360 people losing jobs. There are a couple coaches and whatnot that they've moved on, but, it's going to be a little bit of a cannibalization of these coaches, which is actually uber depressing if you ask me. As we move forward, like you're seeing players continuing to tweet out right now. Isaiah Henney's been pretty vocal. He's looking at this right now. He goes, how do I get on the other side of the remaining USFL teams that got beef? XFL analyst, and this guy's been waiting on this to post this. But, some big names out there. Case Cookus comes to mind, obviously. Troy Williams, another guy. Akil Glass is a guy I thought had really big potential. He's a St. Louis guy as well from Alabama A&M. Darius Victor, former Offensive Player of the Year. Trey Williams, XFL, USFL, AAF guy. Alonzo Moore, he's over 30 years old. Does he keep going? DeMornay Pearsonell, Joe Walker. Fabian Guerra is kind of a weird example because he's got, tides on both leagues. He had an LOI on I think it was with San Antonio, chose to go to the USFL. Devin Gray, Jordan Sewell, Cam Eccles-Looper is a guy that, he's been very vocal and whatnot. Very curious to see where he lines up. Bailey Gaither's a fringe NFL guy. Ish Hyman, Jonathan Adams, so many of these guys. Vinny Papali, and just go down the list. Woody Bradham, Ryan Izzo, Matt Seibert, Sage Surratt, Marcus Buck, just some Drew Himmelman, guys like that. That's been really, 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 a part of this league for the last 2 years. Some of these guys been all-stars. Where do they go? I think about a guy like Sage Surratt as we close this door real quick. Yeah, Chris, yeah, it's funny. I was writing the article last night about EJ joining the Panthers and then switched it up this morning and put it that he just signed with the Jaguars, and that makes sense. I think a guy like EJ now, he kind of sees the I don't want to say the writing on the wall, but the uncertainty of this, and you go into the practice squad, you make about, I'd say about, for him, make 214 or something like that. The guy's in a pretty good financial position to where he could probably stay on and get a futures contract. And we don't know really what happens on the next front of these things for him. So it might be better for him to kind of just hang out, get that futures deal, and then kind of press on into the next objective for him. I don't think Ginda's coming back. I think he's a futures deal guy. He's been a lot of miles on him. I don't know if he's come out in 18 or 19, but he's started for a while. All right, so are there going to be going to be radio broadcast? I'm not sure. I would reach out to both comms at USFL.com. It's on their website, and the XFL media team and whatnot. I hope everything's going good. Snowman, appreciate you checking in, by the way. And send them emails, man, and just, let them know. No? Yeah, Chris, I'm sorry, brother. I don't think that's the reality we live in right now. Unfortunately, I feel as if it's kind of going to be a bad shake for you on that one, man. But yeah, it's in my opinion, I don't think it looks too good on that front. But but you got to be happy for a guy like Ginda, man. He's worked his tail off for an NFL opportunity. This is actually the first time. Okay, so you're going to reach out to USFL comms, and then at I'll pull it up real quick, man. And then if you go on the XFL or the USFL website, they will have it for you. And under like media and whatnot, media communications and whatnot. So if you do that, you'll be in pretty good shape as far as with that. I'm pulling it up for you right now, man. So you go USFL comms at theusfl.com. John, so it's funny. That's been one of my major questions with this whole process is what happens with all that. So are we going to start recognizing that the Pittsburgh Maulers are setting, like, could you do team records? And that's kind of where I'm like leaning my head on right that. Snowman, did you get that? I'm about to write it in the chat right now as well. But yeah, John, that's exactly what like yeah, so USFL comms. And then from there, John, like, so something that I've been bringing up is a guy, DeAndre Johnson, right? Like, obviously he's not signed right now. He's a free agent. But he has 1,700 pass yards, for the New Jersey Generals. A guy like he has that going. The USFL, like, Generals record, like, career passing yards is only like 2,400 by Brian Sipe, I'm pretty sure. So I'm looking at that, and I'm like, do they even acknowledge that in this newfound league and whatnot? I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what's going on that front. I'd like to believe that they do because it kind of makes sense in my eyes, but at this point, who knows? So we'll kind of just gauge it from there, in my opinion. And then the XFL stuff can be found on the XFL website, which I'll pull up in a second. But yeah, it's definitely some trying times. Guys, if you got questions, please let me know. Be probably going. There's, pretty decent amount for me. Usually I've never live streamed before, but you're looking at about, I got 13 people in here, so that's pretty badass. But as of right now, that's really where we're at. Biggest thing that when we talk this dispersal draft, that's always something that, in my opinion, I'm very curious about, because I think that with this dispersal draft, it's going to lead to possibly some of these more solidified guys bowing out, if that makes sense. So I think Case Cookus is going to be a Michigan Panther, in my opinion. I think he's played at Ford Field. I think he's used to the environment. Appreciate you checking in, bud. And I personally think that's kind of where he sticks and where his head lies with a lot of this stuff. He's been up there. I don't really see another spot for him either. You have the Memphis Showboats. You have, which they are going in there with Cole Kelly most likely. Houston Gamblers with Kenji Bahar, third year in the system, and Montel Cozart. They didn't re-sign Terry Wilson. Birmingham's pretty set. Birmingham has a whatchamacallit. Birmingham has what's his name? Jamar Smith, Kyle Sloter going into year 2, and Jalen Morden. San Antonio's got a plethora of quarterbacks. You can't sleep on GLVC, the GLVC guy in TJ Edwards, IFL MVP. So there's so many different avenues about where this goes that, in my opinion, it just could be a lot of different it's all speculation right now, obviously, and I know that's kind of a cop-out thing to say, but it's the reality. Well, yeah, Alex Magoo is living it up in Birmingham, right? Or excuse me, Green Bay right now. I don't know. I think a guy like Alex Magoo has worked so hard that I think he's pretty like um, content. Yeah, I mean, like he's gonna easily be in a shot to be on that active roster and make like 800 some grand next year. So in my opinion, it just doesn't it doesn't look like it's gonna vibe in that front. Um, it is what it is. I can't really, I don't see him coming back. And Alex has done a great job. Snowman, that's for you. Man, I don't know. I think AJ is I think AJ's done, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I love AJ, but he's found his home and he's good. It's kind of unfortunate, but that's the reality of the situation. Like he's gonna kind of ride out those days in Cincinnati. But I mean, could Michigan win it all with Cookus? I think 100%. Yeah. Um, I mean, they're losing. Yeah. I mean, he's and like that's the whole point of this bad boy, right? Is like you want a guy like AJ to find that home, and the next couple of years, that's it. He did it. Like that's we don't have to really worry about him anymore. Um, it's unfortunate for sure, but we'd love to see him. But Nick Tiano, you can't sleep on that guy. Like he's put up some great numbers in while he was in college, and finally got that experience to do go actually playing a game and whatnot. You can't be mad at a guy like Tiano. Like I'm pretty good with that. Like someone who covers the Battlehawks and whatnot. Like I can't get too jazzed up about us going into 2024 with Nick Tiano. That's my take on it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying that's the reality of it. Yeah, Danucci. Well, I mean, Danucci is with was with the Sea Dragons. So I mean, that's pretty safe to see he's gone. Nathan Rourke on the Patriots. Yeah, I mean, if you're Canadian, you know that by now, right? Balloon Sundew 96. Appreciate the comment. Super unfortunate for the players, but the draft will be super fun from a fan perspective. I mean, it will be, and appreciate your comment. Hope you subscribe. But it's also at the same front. Like these are people's livelihoods that are totally jacked up right now, and I just feel like sometimes we forget about that sometimes, and we're just kind of going off the hip on it and whatnot. So while it is going to be interesting to see what players continue to get opportunities and what players continue to do X, Y, and Z, it's crazy. I mean, Arlington, I think it does, and I think 2025 becomes our kind of make or break. But there's always going to be people who are going to try and do this. There's always going to be people who are going to continue to think, okay, I can do it better than you, or I can do it better than this person and whatnot. And correct me if I'm wrong. I just feel like that's the reality of the situation. And with that being said, like, I will always support these spring football leagues, and I will always support the people who play in them. Is Brilliant Speaks coming back? I don't know. But I will always support these people because these are guys who are trying to make it and continue to do their best to live out their dreams. I know that's very cliche, but that's the reality of these leagues. So as long as people keep trying it, I mean, I'm going to support it, especially if it's in St. Louis or wherever I'm living and whatnot. And I think it's not only great for players, but it's also great for the coaches and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, so, USFL Prob did it. So just to, go to Mark first and then to John. USFL Prob did it right way, spring football, slow and steady. Chris, I'll answer that question real quick. It's going to be Nick Tiano, Manny Wilkins, and then Vincent Testaverde Jr. In that order. So Vinny Testaverde Jr. obviously ties to Beck. AJ comes back. It's his job. Tiano started the Vegas game. Manny Wilkins has ties to Dave Bowler. and whatnot. But we can talk about the slow and steady of this, but in the end, did like the USFL accomplish the goal of being sustainable? I mean, depends on what it depends on how you view it, man. Be straight up about it. Like I could say yes, I could say no. It just really depends on what we view as a success. And to go into John's question, yeah, I think the merger is a path of success, but it's not a successful story for the USFL. It's not a successful story for the XFL. It's successful for spring football and the future of essentially a free minor league for the XFL and getting, or excuse me, for the NFL and getting small school guys and guys from the NAIA and guys who are passed over and all the tacky Hollywood stuff from The Rock and whatnot, like giving those guys an opportunity to do what they love and continue to put out a decent opportunity. And some of these guys making 70 grand or something like that, it's not a bad shtick. I'll tell you that much, man. Like, a couple of these players got side businesses and whatnot, a couple of these guys personal trainers and whatnot. Like, some of these dudes doing pretty okay in the finance department, man. Like, and I support the hustle, believe me. We're out there grinding, coaching, running the business, all that goofy stuff. It's getting real. These guys are working their tails off to make some money, and I support it 100%. But I mean, this dispersal draft is going to be the greatest thing. Will the Battlehawks bring the most? No, yeah, it's St. Louis. How else can you, like, what's the plug of this going on? Like, like, no one else has proven themselves like St. Louis. like it's, we can talk about, like Birmingham and whatnot. And that's the thing, in my personal opinion. I like to see what you're talking about, David. If we kind of take that step back and we look at like the long term of this, we will most likely have spring football for a minute, John. And that's, going back to your point and whatnot. I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. Not very good at the stream, so apologies. But, if you go back to it, like this is, like we keep talking about, as long as this makes it last, we could see the buildup of the teams. If the people accept them in the market and they continue to grow and do the right thing, we should get to the point where, we kind of look back at these times. And this, I think this might be still the best attempt we have at, having this for the next 10 or 15 years, in my opinion. Like, there's so much up in the air. There's so much, fluidity with all this. But if, they buck down and they do the right thing and, everything kind of evens out, I think, we'll be coming in a pretty good spot, hopefully by 2030. And the person I want to say call out and whatnot, but he's been on this. If you can go to Mark Thompson, Houston Gamblers running back, he had some stuff, going on. Yeah, David, I mean, we're up in there, We're, I think we easily get past it. Appreciate whoever liked, by the way. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. I actually have an XFL player and a USFL player coming on the show to do my like studio podcast, and then I got NFL guy, a couple college coaches lined up as well, so you don't want to miss that. Balloon Sundew 96, the only merger that wasn't the original AAF XFL is Michigan, but I mean it is an iconic franchise when you really think about the Panthers. 1983 USFL champions. I mean, they were pretty competitive in 2022, 2023, did some good stuff as well. I mean, overall, I think if you had to cut the teams, I did think they did it as best as they could. If we had to go 4-4 on each side, I would have liked the Stars, personally, but in the end, like, you have the closest possibility of getting these teams in their market with the 4. John, are you gonna be at a Battlehawks game? I know we missed one. You know, we missed one each other at the last one, which turned out to be a bloodbath. I wish I was there, man. That would have been pretty wild. But it is what it is. Yeah, no, yeah, Denzel. Well, you know who also is going to be here? The St. Clair Falcons, right? Is that is that? I don't want to make sure I messed up the name. Appreciate you joining the chat, Denzel. Guys, if you found this on Twitter, please share it around. Do a retweet. I know John, you're not on Twitter anymore or X or whatever the hell it's called, but yeah, that's as goofy as it's getting. Michigan, I think they're going to put a lot of good stuff out, man. I think the Panthers. Some of these teams benefit from this dispersal draft, right? And I know that's terrible to say, but it's the reality of the situation. Some of these teams will benefit and it'll continue to make their, franchise a little bit more. Dude, I can't understand Threads. I mean, I downloaded it. It's Denzel's 8-man team out in Franklin County, Missouri. It's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, David, we do have another announcement. I mean, this could have been the precursor to it, kind of like how last week it was the same thing, but it is kind of the reality. I mean, there's a lot of good football players out there unemployed who are freaking out right now, and I totally get that. And the biggest thing we can do is, you got James Larson out there put a decent tweet. Like, if you did not if you don't make it through the merge, you will, DM me. You got plenty of these kids, got great Twitter followings. A guy, Sam Murray, he is in step with a lot of AFL, IFL teams, CIF, NAL, whatever the arena leagues are called. But, he's put out some great stuff, and he's going to continue to help guys get signed. Canada, a lot of people slept on Canada, right? Think about the Canadian Football League. It provides such a great option to a lot of these guys to, go out there. And, yeah, the financial news might not be as great, but at the same time. So I did hear the 21st announcement, but I thought that was just like the finalization of what they were going to be called. I didn't expect that, this was going to be as another, we call it a bombshell. I thought we were going to get like a schedule and then they were going to kind of wait. If we kick back, and a couple people have posted it, by the way, I mean, it depends. It really depends. It's kind of goofy on that with the regional draft, but yeah, I mean, John, I'm just gonna wait. I'm done speculating like most people are. It just goes back and forth on it. Yeah, I know Scooby Wright kind of made a couple jokes and jabs and whatnot. Yeah, I mean, but where we're at now, 4 days before Christmas, 5 days before Christmas, like we kind of jacked that one up a little bit, Cheech. You know what I mean? Not to be edgy here, but like this is the reality right now of it. So it's like, what do you want to do about that now? Like this is not the type of conversation you want to have so many days before everything happens, right? Like this is people's lives, this is their, and everything like that. I just can't, feel for a lot. I feel for a lot of these players. I feel for a lot of people's lives. And whatnot. I'm refreshing my Twitter feed right now, and you got a guy like Matt Seibert, who, pretty solid tight end with the Pittsburgh Maulers, was a big part of their team and their championship run this year. This guy's out of a job. I don't know if that guy is an NFL guy, and I've, told Matt, but I think he's a great football player who, if he wants to keep playing, this is what's going, this is the best chance for him, and what I'm seeing now with some of these players, man, is like this is like when a college they get rid of their program and they are kind of shell shocked. Yeah, Gemini, man. Like I don't disagree with you. Like this is, not fair to anyone. And I appreciate the comment, by the way. And it's like, why are we getting text messages? Why are there's and I get there's a lot of secrecy, but and whatnot. But at the same time, like there's just so much going on with this stuff that I'd be a little upset, and I feel for a lot of people right now. And, you even have guys who were completely lost in the dark. And, there have been people who've called me and, like in my other workspace and whatnot, this has come up. I've worked with some of these agents and, they don't really know. I mean, Leon, I don't think it's fair to call out James or anyone. Like, these things, I don't think that's fair or appropriate. You know what I mean? Like, I get that's your opinion, but I mean, that's just not, that's just not. Yeah, I mean, but I'm not. James isn't on this feed, and I'm not gonna badmouth him on my feed. Like if I have a disagreement with James, I'm gonna talk to him and call him and whatnot, and like that's just the type of man I choose to be, man. Like but yeah, and like that yeah. I mean, but not stuttering now like an idiot. I'm gonna apologize for that, but that's a conversation that like that was probably reported to him by someone he trusted, or that could have been the way it was when it was initially pushed out. Yeah, I mean that's between you and him, man. I've at times been given stuff, and I just don't report it, and it's that's how I choose to do things, and James has leaked a lot of good stuff as well. So I'm not gonna go on the stream and badmouth anyone. That's not my jam. And if I will if I am gonna badmouth someone, I am gonna do it to their face first and then do it publicly. But I don't roll that way. Given the short lead time before the start of the season, less than 3 months. Yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, go Gamblers. Can you guys see that? No, to the other side. Right there. Right there. That's the jam right there. And if you look on the other side, New York Sentinels. Been in this game for a minute, my dude. So that's what I got going on. We got up to 16. That's pretty cool. If you haven't dropped a like yet, please do. I think that does something with the algorithm or something goofy like that. I'm not sure. Yeah, no, the New York Sentinels thing. I messed up. I ordered that Gambler's helmet from Royal Retros, by the way. Oh, geez, Dave. Yeah, I mean, that's why the Gamblers resonate with you. Yeah. But, I ordered that, and I should have had Clint Sig sign it before he went to USFL camp, who, friend of the podcast. I got a good whatchamacallit with him. Hey, Mike, how are you? Yeah, I mean, John, I think that's where it's at, like, I mean, that's where it's at, Well, the UFL, the USFL, and the XFL brands may die, but you know what? Who isn't gonna die? The Battlehawks. They live forever. Who's reporting the 21st? Mike Mitchell. Mike Mitchell's dropped that. Evan Wilsmore, Mark Perry, Stefan has dropped that. A couple other people have dropped that as well. Stefan, and then Zach Hillman, I think, said something as well. James as well. I mean, I think I don't. This isn't, first off, not to be edgy here. This isn't the James Larson podcast, and like I said, he is he is more than willing to have a conversation with someone, um, if you want to discuss with him on your opinions. But I mean, that being said, I mean, that's how it came out. Then that's how it came out. Like that's a conversation you should have with him straight up. Like I'm not gonna be edgy about that in MF James. That's not who I am. That's not something to do. And like I said, if I'm gonna have a negative opinion about someone, I'm gonna talk to them first about it. And so that's it. I mean, hey Mike, how are you? Yeah, I mean, you should have a conversation with Leon. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, it may not be confirmed, but I think what I think honestly happened, guys. I think right now, because this got leaked, I think it's gonna force them to act, and I think it's gonna push some stuff out there that's gonna make it that like, oh, okay, like now we need to do something, right? Because there's like all this information's out there. What do we do? Oh my god, like, and I might be off base on that, but that's kind of the reality I see this in now, is that like, okay, like the cat's out of the bag, we gotta do something. So very curious to see what y'all's like, cup of tea on that is. That's how I feel. That's I'm not sure if that's like the reality of the situation, but I do feel that like that's kind of where this leans to a little bit. You think these Eric Shanks is a grown man, like Gerald Johnson, grown men. There's so much that these guys do and whatnot that like I doubt that the Twitter like people and like myself or any of these guys forcing the hands. Yeah, I mean maybe Fireball whiskey, but hey, we jumped up to 20. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't yet, drop a like, subscribe. We'll keep going, as long as people keep typing in and whatnot, and and I'm updating Twitter constantly to see like what's going on and how's everything doing. Scooby Wright 30 minutes ago. Hey, what's going on, man? Hope. Yeah, I mean, I feel like right now, Insider, that so much stuff has happened that how could you not have news and just drop, like, you got to say something, right? Like, you have to push out that, like, okay, like, we did something, like, because this isn't an official announcement. This is just, Scooby Wright going rogue. Like, if he doesn't tweet this, do other people have the courage to say something? Like, I got a message not too far before that. Yeah, and I don't think that's, Mike, I think with the Dwayne, Danny, and the Shanks, I mean, Eric Shanks, like I said, is a guy not to be slept on, I mean, but doesn't your stuff, I don't feel bad because what happens with your black and yellow Pittsburgh Maulers merch? It became retro and it became way more, better for the resale, especially if you got it on sale. Now we look back on this and you're like, oh man, this is a decent amount. This is what we call a solid flip. So, so you're saying, Mike, that you don't think it's the 21st? Yeah, no, collector's items, John. So you think we gas back? Because now you're having this mid-January draft, right? So, and something I'm curious about is with these guys who are in talks with the USFL and XFL teams with the LOIs and everything like that. Like, do they all get stopped up? I don't know. If we go to these 90-man rosters, you'll have guys have opportunities, especially if they stay at the 53 when they cut it down. But my biggest thing is going to be like, what's training camp going to look like? Because these are small staffs, man. Like, I think you have to do an internship and like to kind of have someone put out your bags and whatnot and everything like that. I mean, we'll see what happens. I'm not really sure. Panther Shadow had something I wanted to highlight on Twitter. UFL Shadow is his thing. Are we getting new uniforms? I don't think you should. I think you keep them, because now you're doing another rebrand and another change. So you have people who are so into it that really love it and whatnot, and then now you're having them change it up again. Not in my opinion, that's not the move. You know what I mean? Like that's not something you're kind of grasping at straws and keeping people interested. Why are you gonna get rid of this whole dynamic and whatnot? And like you've made a decent amount of work or good work and whatnot. I guess, am I a juvenile or what are you saying there, Chris? Panther Shadow, so UFL Shadow. This is what I want to highlight. I've never been a fan of hubs, but I'm not a fan of the XFL hub. I think he wrote double E. I don't know if that's a word and whatnot. I don't know how the league is going to have the same player involvement in the communities like they played in. I mean, these guys in St. Louis, they were here. They were extremely. Yeah, Mike, I think you're 100% right. I mean, they were extremely active. They had a lot of good stuff going on. Like, they would fly up during camp. They went to the Foundry and whatnot. So that's what I could speak about in St. Louis for sure. Dude, I am 30 now, man. But that's a conversation for another day. But yeah, like you work so hard to get these brands up and everything like that. They did a good job, man. Like Arlington Arlington did a good job and whatnot. Yeah, so with the XFL hub, I don't like it. I wish people in St. Louis were here. I wish they were all here. But I mean, maybe that's the goal one day. At the same time, it does, and this is for all the hubs. You got one training staff, you got one of this, one that, all that goofy stuff. Like it may cut down the cost, but at this point, with both leagues in survival mode, we just have to, dude. We just have to, yeah, like you said, Gemini, solidify the spring football. Let's keep going. Let's keep this doing all that goofy stuff, because these guys aren't making enough money to do all these different real estate investments, essentially getting Airbnbs and whatnot, or the hotels. I'm not sure. Hey, Matt Patricia called a pretty good game last night. If it wasn't for Sidney Brown, they probably would have won. That guy missed like 7 tackles. Because Mr. Stiefel or the guys who own Worldwide Technology don't know yet. That's why. Those are the guys you want to keep an eye on. Regarding any involvement in St. Louis. That's what you got to do, man. Anything with the Stiefels, Budweiser, any of those guys, you keep them involved. You keep an eye on them. That they'll be, air quote, the money makers, for lack of a better term. I mean, I'm pretty involved in community, that space. There's a couple of real estate guys up here that you really want to keep tabs on. But yeah, that's something that you should, in my opinion, would be a great buy. Now, what would be interesting is if you had, a situation like, yeah, Scooby Wright putting out more stuff, XFL model hub style. How's that for a source? I mean, that was kind of confirmed not too long ago. Yeah, I mean, just look up. You got. There's plenty of options here. Maybe Kroenke comes back into the city and just ruins that. Yeah, Scooby's on his own thing right now. Brock Miller, punters of the General. He is tweeting out heartbroken with hip hip hooray, and that's obviously what they got coming out. USFL News, he pushed something out as well. Summary of the XFL USFL merger from the USFLPA. Yeah, I mean, because it could rival the NFL. Like, so, I worked down in the Ozarks a lot, and there were people who were out there pretty much saying like, hey, I don't want to go to a game or get invested in this because I think it's going to go. Well, to an extent, they're not wrong, except St. Louis still showed out 33, 35, 38,000. Like, the number was great. Like, you can't even contest that. It was a great thing to watch. You saw so many people get involved. Like, they did, like I said, great work in the community. and whatnot. Like, it was a great experience to be a part of. But, there's still that distrust, and, hopefully going in this year, with them opening up the 400 tickets and whatnot, 400 level tickets, it seems like the possibility of this to grow is only, it's, yeah, no, that's actually exactly me, Chris. It's exactly what's going on right now. But, I mean, we'll see what happens in the future, So I'm very anti-Player 54, and I've put it on record with it, where if you look up, there's a great interview with with Warren Sapp and Rich Eisen, where Warren Sapp talks about, oh yeah, you and The Rock were rushing the quarterback together, and Warren Sapp goes, do we? Never rushed the quarterback with Dewey. The Rock wasn't Player 54. Being Player 54 actually isn't a bad thing, because then you go on the practice squad and you make over $200,000. It's being Player 71 is the bigger issue. I thought it was a little cringe, but in the end, put butts in the seats. And I mean, how many people are a casual fan, don't really care, like I put myself up to be a little bit more than a casual fan, and passionate, working with the media, working with football. It's definitely a lot of different, aspects of my life that, I take the time to go research it and whatnot. So, a lot of useless knowledge, but at the same time, it's a lot of good stuff, like, to know these things, and you can kind of see through the facade. Oh, man, I think we are stuck with the American Center, but, something, a little tidbit, is March 30th, they have motocross at the Dome. So we'll see what happens with that. It's so we're not going to have that happening. It's up to 25 now. Appreciate you guys checking in. I think that's our high watermark, by the way. If you're just joining, drop a question, drop a like. Appreciate it. Make sure to subscribe. But yeah, they have motocross. So yeah, I mean, it is and it isn't. But Warren Sapp talks about like The Rock being like the third string rotational guy, like third down guy. Like, nothing wrong with that, man. You're doing that at the University of Miami. You know where I played college football at? I didn't. I played like 4 games semi-pro with the Marine team in the Surf City Sharks. It was not that good. Special teams guy, barely a long snapper. But, we keep working, you keep breaking it down like that and whatnot. There is a lot of good stuff with just the opportunity. And, someone I think about a lot with the Player 54 is, David Tolentino. He's an NAIA guy. He was, from Grandview University. Awesome dude. Haven't met him. I've coached against Grandview. They are proficient and they were good, and that is why they win championships. They lost in the playoffs this year, but regardless, you get a guy, these NAIA guys, and man, being around that level and being a part of so much, like you have kind of cut off the life source of these lower level colleges to an extent in half, right? And I mean, that's kind of like a moot point at this juncture, but like we continue to hammer that, like half these guys are gone. But does it open up Canada a little bit more? Like, do you have guys who would have played? And I mean, exactly. Not only the player, guys, the media, Harry Douglas is doing NFL games. He was doing XFL games. Greg Olson was doing XFL games in 2020. You can just go down that rabbit hole and whatnot. And, it's unfortunate, but there's so much to build from that, continue to progress and everything like that. And we'll see what happens in the end. I mean, I'm excited, because in the end, you can look at it from a glass half empty to glass half full. And, from that juncture, if I'm doing it like that, then I feel like we got a lot of good stuff going on. The 4-4, it's funny, when the initial report came out, it was like Houston and everyone assumed it was Roughnecks. And it's like, man, but there's also been a lot from like, it was the 12 teams, which in the 2 hub per city and whatnot. So there's been so much different ups and downs and lefts and rights with this, that like now that it's kind of slowing down, and that dispersal draft, that January 15th, appreciate whoever just liked, it will be figured out. I mean, from the big superstars, I don't know about that. It'd be real goofy if you had like profit sharing, right? If you got just appreciate you, bud. Yeah, I mean, that might have been the case at the time. These things change, or whoever told them that stuff was, a different part. Stratton, a lot of people were upset about Stratton, man, and I feel like that's such people were just coming at that dude, and I just don't agree with it, man. I'm like, this dude is inside the league. Like, he's got sources. He's getting fed stuff. Like, he's not putting it out like that. Yeah, so Scooby Wright, that's great and all, but he also I've gotten that text message from several USFL players, so we'll see how accurate it is on that front. I mean, I think Scooby, yeah, I know, but like, if the USFL players are texting other people that and whatnot, I think he's just being edgy, I think he's upset, man. I mean, he's tweeted that the reality is a little bit unsettling. Like, a bunch of his boys are gone. There's going to be like kind of the dispersal drafts and whatnot, as far as like, protecting players and who makes the cut and who doesn't. Yeah. I mean, that's one of his more recent tweets. Now he's on a tirade about the XFL and USFL hub models, which, I mean, I'm very anti-hub, but I mean, it's a reality of the situation, right? There's nothing to get past it. Any players anyone that's, player movement and what that, there's about 22 people in here now. So, I figured that's not a bad juncture to be at. If you haven't, please drop a like. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude, is like, now I do hope that this opens up a Team 9 again, that the XFL 2020 happened, because you will have some of these guys, and if you pay them like the $1,500 inactive roster spot, and now you can employ, can we clip me? What do you mean, like physically clip me, or what do you want to do? But you still have, like, you put a shell squad kind of merged at like NFL Alumni Academy. There's a lot of options, and keep some guys on the payroll and whatnot without burning complete holes in the pocket and everything like that. But we'll see what happens. It's crazy. It's a crazy time with all this stuff going on, and the best thing to do is to be, yeah, I mean, maybe they won't be tomorrow. Maybe people will be getting their refund back, like, it just gets a little bit goofy. A lot of people were saying that they should keep the Roughnecks. I mean, they could be the Houston Roughnecks with a shirt change, I mean, it could be for the championship. It wouldn't be a bad spot, right? Change it up. But it is a very unfortunate part right now. It's it just keeps grinding on that. Like, be straight up about it. it's real goofy. I mean, John, yeah, I think the NFL owns that trademark or something like that. But yeah, it is kind of goofy. Just going through some of these, tweets are coming up. Evan's going on a little bit. Aside from the business aspect here, really sad to see player. I don't think they're crying poor. I think they're just like, this is the reality of the situation they're in. Like, they kind of know what's up. Like, they know that this isn't sustainable. They want to be successful. They also, there's probably egos in there as well. Like, hey, we made spring football work. And like Evan says here, the spring football logistics are never been easy. It's one of those days where that's proven. I mean, you're going to break hearts in this league all the time. It is kind of crazy. I'm seeing a bunch of stuff. Darius Victor. Yeah, I mean, no Sea Dragons right now. Both sides, like Mike said, are choosing the the best markets that for business, and I don't disagree. I think the teams that they chose or the markets that they chose are the most, reasonable, successful like stream that they can have in reality. Here's what Darius Victor wrote. I am forever grateful for the Generals and the USFL for giving me a chance to play the game I love. I want to thank everyone and the teammates and coaches for making it. I will cherish my time as a General. A guy like Darius Victor, I cannot not see him not being a part of this merged league. He went over 1,000 yards, extremely effective. He's coming up on 29. Like it is exactly like, I just don't not see him. Jay Sternberger, he's posting some stuff right now. So Jay Sternberger wrote, so we aren't going to Birmingham, and Dalen Mack recently re-signed by the Showboats, I believe. He wrote, this blank is a joke, bruh. We are ruining what we just built because the XFL does not know how to run their own expletive. I mean, now this is very curious. What is the animosity level going to be between these two factions? Are we getting Hatfield and McCoys right now? Or is there going to be a little bit of edginess because of, oh, you're an XFL guy, USFL guy, all that stuff? Is it going to be so edgy that, like, are we healing a nation essentially right now? So that's kind of where, my, like, very curiosity, especially when guys get moved around or, like, you even get moved to another team. Like, what is... Yeah, I mean, what is the next wave of this coming, of my buddy doesn't have a job, but you do? Okay. The Canton Bulldogs. Yeah, Memphis I felt was pretty good. They came out and said they had 30,000 at one game. I don't agree. I don't think that was true, but we never got official attendance reports from the USFL. So, I mean, that's one of the things I kind of look forward to. Like maybe with the XFL, we do get the official attendance reports. I'm not sure. It is what it is on that front. People are pretty excited about John DeFilippo coming out. Haley obviously was there. They went 9-11. I think DeFilippo was 7-3 with the Breakers in his first year as a head coach. Hey, Bobby, how are you? So good to see you. You're doing well. If anyone doesn't know, Bobby Scott, a former USFL player, by the way, I believe he played for the Generals, was Archie Manning's backup for a while. So, it's pretty awesome news on that front. Bobby's OG USFL guy. So, drop a like for Bobby if you haven't yet. Yep, and he was the roommate for a long time. That is 100% true. Yeah, I mean, but that's, All Around Hustle says USFL teams with no stadiums should be a little mad. And I mean, but that's not the player's fault. That's not the player's fault. Yeah, I mean, I think the XFL definitely has some positives on some aspects, and I think the USFL has positives on that on some aspects. Phoenix resurrected. Will the Sea Dragons come back? I mean, they're gonna keep that. They're gonna keep that trademark. We'll see what happens, and and whatnot. We're gonna see what happens, man. We are. I'd like to see them come back. I'd like to see the West Coast, all the West Coast. I'd like to see them get up to 16, 20 teams. Make this a sustainable thing. But right now, with how expensive it is in Seattle, and you factor in these other equations, is that the most realistic option right now? I'm not really sure, and neither is anyone else at this point. So I mean, I know that's a kind of a cop out answer, but it's the reality of the situation, man. Like, there's they've tried to make it work. Obviously, there's something going on where there's a disconnect. What's the next move on this front? You know what I mean? San Diego, same way. The Fleet were great, man. Now, if they keep making it happen and the league gets bigger and they're not cannibalizing each other, because, man, I covered these leagues for like 24 weeks and it was exhausting to cover multiple teams and whatnot, you know, like, and I'm watching every game and, you know, whether it be streaming and during the summer, like, you know, it's a lot, man. It is a lot to do. And, you know, during the summer, the AAF will never die. It was the best thing that they've ever done. It's just Charlie Ebersol's kind of a terrible thing. I mean, Bobby's not wrong, man. 60K a year. If I'm going, Stallions were amazing. And, you know, it's funny, 7 of the 8 quarterbacks from the AAF ended up getting NFL contracts. Now, if you put $60,000 a year and you do that, like, you might be able to, in a weird way, you might be able to do pretty okay, because what you can do is you put them up and, you know, you get your uncle over there who used to play on the Rams or something, you put them up in the hotel. Man, big brain move, big financial guy over here. Yeah, but you got to think about how many all around hustle. You got to think about how many people are going to, like, allow you to get in there. You know, like, are you going to price gauge an Airbnb? Like, what are you going to do on that? I mean, I think it's possible. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. I just don't think it's, you know, the reality of what it's going to be today. So, I mean, Jim Mora retweeting Matt Mangle. Mora, I think, was at UCLA when Mangle was there. But this Mangle, 46, was on the team I coached at UCLA. He is the true definition of a team player, high character with his priorities in order, dependable, accountable, great work ethic. So now you got guys, you know, almost pushing for their guys right now, man. It is pretty, you know, I mean, it's great that everyone's coming together and whatnot and, like, trying to do what's right by these players and everything. But in the end, everyone's still burned, you know? Yeah. I mean, Gemini, you know, we're not going to care as fans and media because, you know, I'm still going to cover the league and, you have these guys talk. But I mean, in the locker rooms and whatnot, you have a bad loss and an XFL player makes a bad play or a USFL player makes a bad play. We're, you know, I mean, it doesn't matter who started it. It's just the reality of whatnot. I mean, Bobby, they're going to be calling it the UFL, the United Football League. I mean, let's see what happens from there. You know what I mean? Denver Gold. Yeah, there's a couple of these Twitter pages that have that already. Like, you know, they've stolen a couple of the Twitter handles and whatnot. So I find it a little hilarious that they're doing it like that. But, I mean, that's the reality of the situation. Yeah, so for those who don't know, the United Football League was an 09 to 12, which, you know, in my opinion, it was really ridiculous. Mike McDaniel coached there, Sean McVay coached there, Jay Gruden coached there. Brian Johnson played in that league. You know, OC, Josh Johnson played in that league. Yeah, from Denzel Washington's son played in that league. Josh McCown played in that league. Brooks Bollinger played in that league. A lot of guys. McLeod Bethel Thompson played in that league. And, you know, it's funny. For a while, I was doing, like, alt football, post-2000 alt football stats, and some of these names that were copping up. So it was actually Brooks, California Redwoods. Culpepper played in that league. Yep. Yeah, and, you know, I think, Delta MG, appreciate you checking in, man. Make sure you like and subscribe. First time seeing that. But yeah, it was during the NFL season with the actual goal of being a minor league system. And from there, they would play on Thursdays and Wednesdays and Fridays. Yeah, he went with Denny Green, Scott. He played with Denny Green, his guy. So, yeah, that was pretty much how they did. Bring back the Portland, New Orleans, and Boston, call them all. Yeah, the neon green. John, chime in on some UFL stuff because I know you're loving these names I'm dropping. Dede Dorsey, Lyndon Woody alum, Super Bowl champion, was in that league. Really? Oh, Chris, man, you're missing out, dude. It was some great times to be a part of that. I tell you, like, I remember watching that as a kid, dating myself a little bit. OG UFL, yeah, it was such a ridiculous thing to be a part of, but the way they would use destroying is the way they had Denzel, man. Like that's how much they like, because his son was in the league. I mean, some of these guys were amazing to watch, and I think Sammy Parker was in the league, former Chiefs receiver. A lot of people hate on Ducky, but but this is the best thing that I've seen and whatnot, and so much for the crawl, walk, run method when you're going from 4 home markets with the community engagement back into 1. I mean, a lot of people don't like that guy, and that's fine. But in the end, he's not wrong on that front. And to say that anything on that, he's not wrong. Hey Scott, get something to eat. Hopefully you dropped that like. Appreciate if you did, and I think you did earlier. Share it on Twitter if you can, man. But yeah, I think we got 22 people in here. Our high watermark was 28, which is pretty good for me. I'm just kind of some Trump. Gained a couple subscribers, so pretty good on that front. Any questions as we continue to path down? We've been going about an hour and 6 minutes. It's crawl, walk, jog, sit on the couch for a couple years. Yeah, Bobby, and then push on. Hey, Bobby, I'm kind of doing this. I love football, pseudo football historian over here. Really trying to make my name in some of the podcasting media stuff with some of these guys, and trying to learn more about the game, do better in coaching, and hopefully have a job in the league in a couple of years. I mean, I think so. What do you think all around hustle? Who won the Sugar Bowl in 1969? It's who? Oh, that I don't know, Bobby. It's gonna be whatever school you went to, and I know you went to like Southeastern. You went to a weird school, man. I mean, yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was like that weird school you went to, man. Oh God, I can't remember. No, you went to Tennessee. Yeah, you went to Tennessee. Yeah, so Tennessee won. Yeah. Because no one wanted, but since Peyton Manning, yeah, it was a big thing when Manning was doing it in '97. No. I was thinking if Bobby Hebert went to a weird school. No, Bobby Hebert went to like Southeastern or Southwestern Tech or something like that. I was getting your college and Bobby Hebert's colleges mixed up. That was my apologies. Tennessee is not weird. Yep. But yeah, when in '97 when Manning was going for the Heisman, that got brought up a bunch of times. So you're the reason why Peyton Manning went to Tennessee and not Ole Miss. Yeah. As far as all around hustle, you're talking about what now as far as with the divisions? Yeah, I mean that would make sense. I mean, you go Memphis, you go St. Louis, you go DC, and you go Michigan. I mean, it makes the most sense, in my opinion. I think I'm going to keep this stream going as, by the way, as long as we're over 10 people. 10 people, it's only 750 by me. So, I'm probably going to, for over 15 people, we'll keep going. But yeah, no, that was, it's pretty crazy times if you ask me on that, on that front. So, got people logging out, so they want me to get out of here. But yeah, I think we'll keep with the Battlehawks, obviously in the North Division. Yeah, I mean Leon, I think that makes the most sense. I don't see how it's not that. You got rid of Vegas, you got rid of Seattle. Geographically, all that goofy stuff, it makes the most sense to pull it like that. Luke Miller brings up a really good point. The relationship between Birmingham and the USFL, like, it's not too different than the Cronkies, like this Birmingham pseudo protest. It would include all 8 teams. You would have all 8 teams pick. That's what they were saying in his tweet and whatnot. If it's one league, yeah, no, it would include 8 teams. because then they'd all draft from the other teams as well with the LOIs and everything going on and whatnot. So that seems like the reality to me that we'd be living in. So appreciate a couple more guys and gals joining the stream and whatnot. So, if you're new, please drop a like, subscribe, all that goofy stuff. Really appreciate that. Well, it's league contracts. Yeah, I mean, and if anything, if anything, it is what it is. Can't have spring football without Birmingham. Yeah, no, that is the rule. It is the rule. But, all right, y'all. I think we are Yeah. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Only time will tell. But, yeah, I mean, this is a good point. I mean, you have Skip Holtz there. He's obviously not a chump. You have Skip Holtz. You have Jamar Smith, who a lot of people were like, oh, Alex Magoo's gone. Hey, man, that's great and all, but, like, Jamar Smith led them to the championship. They were winning the championship with Magoo. They did a role reversal in 2023. It kind of gets crazy and whatnot on that front. John DeFilippo is going to coach Memphis. It wasn't announced officially by the league, but to be fair, it wasn't announced either that, Todd Haley resigned. They never did a press release. It was just kind of mentioned like semi-casually and whatnot. I don't even think he posted anything on his Twitter or anything like that, to be honest with you. But hey, these things happen, right? But with that being said, yeah, it definitely is really irky times and whatnot. As far as, yeah, no, it kind of happened. No Delta. Hey, Dave, drop a like, man. Appreciate you. Make sure you're subscribed. No, I don't think Magoo or DiNucci. I think DiNucci has proven himself that right now that he is a capable like 2/3 guy with Jared Stidham there. Oh man, it's got to be a random draw. Will, appreciate you chiming in, man. Make sure you drop a like. Yeah, I mean, I think DiNucci, especially with him getting activated and whatnot, and people kind of coming out. Yeah, God bless for real. I think he's kind of back in the cycle. Magoo could be a late signing, but I just feel like he's impressed enough in camp because they got rid of Danny Etling, who they had for years. I mean, Jordan Love has not been as bad as people think, and Sean Clifford is obviously a rookie. So when you have Magoo in there for another year, it's going to be the same thing. Do I think AJ is coming back? No, I do not think AJ is coming back. As much as that sucks to say, I just do not feel that. I feel that he will cement himself as a backup somewhere else or get signed to another deal. And maybe if, Jake Browning continues to perform, that they can either A, flip him, or B, it just, he wants more money as a backup and whatnot, to where, because I think Browning started on the practice squad, got, elevated, then signed to the active roster. I don't know what his contract, because he was the QB3 behind Brendan Allen last year. So I'm very curious to see what's, going to come about with that. Excuse me. But with that being said, AJ's familiar, another year in there. He's a professional quarterback. People might see, because remember, AJ had the ACL tear in 21, missed all of the season, didn't really have much workouts, had interest from the 49ers in 22, came to St. Louis, became the pseudo MVP essentially, even though they didn't have an MVP. But yeah, no, a lot of questions remain and whatnot. But with that, coming to the forefront, let's see what, I don't feel that AJ, as great as it would benefit him, and whatnot, especially his family in Cincinnati. I don't know what your lease situation is like. Did he get a friendly lease? Did he go back to the old place he lived in when he was there from, 14? He's an Alabama kid, obviously. But we'll see. I'd love to see AJ back in St. Louis. I think so many people didn't, appreciate his greatness. when I was at the XFL showcase at Missouri Baptist, he was there, talking to the guys, talking with staff members and everything like that. So it was just such a great experience to have him around and being a part of that. And, it doesn't get much better than, talking to a guy like AJ McCarron, who not only has had success at the NFL, one of the greatest college quarterbacks ever, and then break it down into like the XFL players. How many players got signed to the NFL? I believe that number, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's like 42 USFL and 67 or 68 XFL. So that brings it at 109. The quarterbacks were Reed Sinnett, who's on the practice squad for the Bengals, got released. Jordan Teamu got released by the Vikings. You had AJ McCarron was there. You had Drew Plitt was back there, so that's 4 XFL guys. And then on the USFL side, it was EJ Perry and Alex Magoo, and both of them are on practice squads now. So I believe that's at 6. And correct me if I'm missing anyone, but I feel pretty good about, just going off the top of my head. I do have it on a spreadsheet, but, it is it's going to take me a second to pull it up, Bobby. So, but yeah, that's where we're at as far as the numbers. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I think that 108, 109 sounds about right. But yeah, that's, quarterbacks. Jack Cohn was getting some looks. I thought EJ Perry was going to get signed by the by the Patriots. He's a Brown guy, from that area. He went to Boston College as well. I thought that was going to be a pretty big shoe-in right there. But yeah, so EJ just got signed with the Jags. He was in the same system last year. Trevor Lawrence in concussion protocol. Nathan Rourke signed by the Patriots on their practice. I'm pretty sure he's on their practice squad. I don't remember if it was that or active roster. There's a lot of quarterback movement today. Will Greer was picked up off the Patriots practice squad. You got a couple guys in injured reserve and whatnot. So there were a lot of moving parts at quarterback today. So, does that trickle down to the USFL and XFL? Yeah, you see guys working out and whatnot. I feel when you have that going on, in my opinion, that what's the word I'm looking for? When you have that going on, it might be a lot of guys getting looks for futures deals when some of these big workout groups. Something I'm very curious about is what are the Washington Commanders going to do at long snapper? They just cut their guy Cheeseman over there. So with that happening right now, like, what do they do as far as like, are they going to, sign a long snapper like USFL guys or XFL guy? Those guys have been working out and whatnot with, they all work out with the same guy, all very active in their groups and whatnot. So very curious to see what they do on that front. It's always a big deal. It's always a big thing. If AJ doesn't come back, so Arlington's going to love this. I wouldn't. So Coach Beck has been very high on Tiano and Manny. Manny was a Dave Bowler guy. He's very familiar with them from ASU and whatnot. Testaverde Jr. is, a Beck guy. Played arena ball, XFL 2020 and whatnot. And then Tiano was their 3rd pick. Remember, they had Ryan Willis as well. Wouldn't blow my mind to see 2 names pop up, right? You got Akil Glass from Alabama A&M. I think he went to Hazelwood Central. He's a St. Louis guy. He's with the Breakers. Had a stint with the Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't know if he was a minicamp guy or got signed. That's a guy I would really be curious to keep my eyes out. He's a bigger dude. He's got a good arm. Wouldn't be the craziest option out there to see if he can, possibly make his way. There's also Eric Barrier. A lot of people don't like how much air he puts under the ball. I feel like kind of it doesn't, he doesn't lead his receivers that well. He's a little bit smaller, a little bit shifty. He's a guy that I felt like the USFL or the XFL waiting on an opportunity to actually play. Played a little bit with the Panthers in 22, finished up with the New Jersey Generals in 23 after being the backup for a minute with Michigan. Not really sure what the next step is for him, but that being said, which I sound like Jonathan. Yeah, so Glass stud, man, and St. Louis guy. You know, a guy I'm a fan of. He's a little bit smaller. Mike Glass was up in Hamilton and Montreal. It's funny, when he came on my show, he was like, yeah, you know, I told Anthony Beck, you know, I'm a big fan and all that stuff. Let's get a quick JJ the Mind, like quick power rankings. I think you gotta go Birmingham #1. Yeah, Dave, I think you told me. I think you commented that on one of my videos. I think we go Birmingham #1, DC #2, St. Louis #3. I think Case Cookus goes to Michigan. Yeah, and it's funny, Will, you want Glass to come home. Which one? It doesn't matter, right? But, you know, I'm comfortable with Tiano. So mark it down, guys. You can clip this, Chris Mason. You can go Stallions #1, DC #2, St. Louis #3, Arlington #4, Houston Michigan #5, Memphis #6. I mean, I'm speculating. I can't be put on the spot. We're Memphis #6. You know, Memphis #6. Oh man, I think the Gamblers are #8. So yeah, then we can put San Antonio #7. Yeah, you know, who's San Antonio's quarterback? Offensive line woes were terrible. You know, they had so many mismatched offensive line. I really like their receiving core. Yeah, clip that. Yeah, no, so let's go. Stallions, DC, St. Louis, St. Louis, Arlington, Memphis. Yeah, no, it's all jumbled up right now, man. I'm gonna be honest with you. I gotta write it down. I'm jacked up. Do I think Kyle Sloter stays with the Stallions? I think that's up to him, you know. He's still on the roster. That running back core. That JJ, that offensive line was so bad. Go rewatch the film, dude. Jack Cohn, I don't think he's great by any means, but I also think like he got put up in some terrible situations that I don't wish. Yeah, Jack Cohn is still in San Antonio. He is, you know, in line to start. They also have Paxton Lynch. Kurt Benkert's still on the roster. I expect him to open a roster spot. Mikhail McKay, and then the GLVC, Great Lakes Valley Conference, credentialed by them, by the way, Southwest Baptist, and IFL MVP, TJ Edwards. So one of my guys actually played with TJ. He said he was kind of a boss, not going to lie. He played there, and he played at UN Indy, which he played with Toriano Solano, I believe, or Toriano Clinton was his name. So that's a guy you don't want to sleep on right there. Lynch is actually with San Antonio. Yeah, so he got claimed after went over to San Antonio, and that's where he's making his head right now. So didn't play. I don't think he was active for like the last 2 games. It was when Jawan Pass got hurt, and Kurt Benkert, Reed Sinet obviously got hurt there. Sinet's still a free agent, so I don't expect him to come back. You know, I just kind of think for a guy like that, you know, a year and a half ago, Quentin Dormandy was the Orlando starter. After that, you know, it was DeAndre Francois, which, I mean, I wouldn't wish that on Abram Smith. You know, I think they had a pretty good thing going there. Teamu hasn't signed back, by the way. Yeah, Pearsonell coming back to St. Louis would be great. You know, great for the brand. Before it was Lynch, Dormandy, Francois, then there was Quentin Flowers. I don't think he started. I think he was a gadget guy. Yeah, but JJ, I mean Mark Thompson doing some things down there, man. I mean, you just go on the Twitter page right now. He's losing his daggone mind right now. Yeah, I mean it is it's pretty wild with a lot of everything going on with that, man. Dude, that would be pretty crazy. No, uh, Bobby, John. Yeah, no, I'm definitely all in on Jordan Teamu back to St. Louis. If you can't get AJ, you bring back Teamu in Bruce Gadkowski's offense. I think with how cute he wants to get and whatnot, kind of pseudo Sean McVay stuff. I think that would be extremely amazing. You know, but the thing is his rights are still retained by DC. But if this new league comes up, like what does that mean? So take that for what it's worth. Lynch doesn't have an attitude problem. I mean, I know that for a fact. I've talked to someone very close to that organization. He was happy to play football. He wanted to start, which is part of the reason, and he wanted to be in Florida. But he's from there. But no, like I have heard nothing but good things about Paxton Lynch from Michigan players and a couple coaches as well. Like that dude's a constant professional. He's an awesome guy, So I we'll see what that means. But yeah, I'm a big Paxton Lynch guy, man. Like, dude, he doesn't play as bad as the stat line indicates and whatnot. He threw like 64%. Yeah, I mean, and I could be wrong. Maybe I just talked to all his friends, and whatnot. Yeah, JJ, but that's the thing is like, are we gonna, it comes down to the rights and everything like that. Like, because he is an XFL guy and there's XFL teams, like he remains on that front. So I mean, it is kind of wacky and whatnot, but we'll see what happens. There's only so much to speculate on that. It is what a time to be alive. I mean, there's some, there's some guys that were kind of brought in at the end. So this is another thing that like some of these back end roster players that were signed in the XFL for 2-3 weeks, those guys were probably out to the curb. And man, a lot of those guys were arena league guys. Like, I don't, nothing against Jeremy Hickbottom, but if I'm a quarterback, free agent quarterback, do I want to go to like the XFL? Yeah, DC did lose Lucky Jackson, and man, you can't say enough, in my opinion, about Reggie Barlow, Fred Kreis, and Greg Williams. By the way, Greg Williams, Truman State, GLVC guy. Reggie Barlow, he worked under my predecessor, and he's good. He was my one of my old clients' coach, by the way, as well. Guy played on the Raiders, but oh man, I lost my train of thought. But yeah, so like you got a guy Jeremy Hickbaum, 3 weeks left in the season, right? What, man, Mark, my opinion, let's just bring it back, buy that trademark, buy that trademark. Appreciate you capping in, man. Please drop a like, subscribe if you haven't yet. But so when these seasons are going on simultaneously, you have a guy, Jeremy Hickbaum, I mentioned him and nothing against him. You have that guy. Are they going to try and sign a guy like Vad Lee, who is a sustainable backup in these leagues, for 3 weeks in the XFL, or is he going to go to the USFL and, actually play and have a paycheck for, 10, 12 weeks, whatever the season lasts, So that's something that I don't think got talked enough a lot about, like the back end signings where it's like, you're not getting the highest quality guy. And a lot of these futures deals happen, like guys who got signed in the futures deals and whatnot after the NFL draft. Are they sticking around and whatnot? Like, no, they're bouncing out. Like futures deals happens, everything. Man, I think, I mean, how many people are we talking are diehards? Are we talking 500 people? You know what I mean? I think they're going to have Houston football, and I think, they're just going to push on with that, and they'll figure it out. And, I think you'll have 500 people upset, but then what happens next? I mean, Joe McClendon, what are you thinking on that front? I'll pull up Twitter again real quick. I mean, I've been refreshing. Pure Sports Productions is pretty upset. I tell you what, he is not having a good time with it. It's kind of calming down a little bit right now. I mean, oh man. I mean, I'm okay with it. That's not the most outrageous thing. The United Spring Football League. Yeah, a couple people, the players and whatnot, Ja'Cory John saying thank you for the opportunity to play. It's you know, I mean, I get it, man. You got to feel for some of these fringe guys, man, like who are so close to an NFL dream, and just to like kiss it, and then like it's just so much going on. Like you got to feel for these guys. Yeah, Ja'Cory John's posting his Twitter. This one gentleman, Tony Butherig, he wrote, yeah, if to support the new league, we'll have teams to come back to in 2025. No, it doesn't get much simpler than that. I have no rooting interest, and this account was for my spring football teams. One guy talking about his account being done. There were some people who were like pretty edgy about this, like, hey, this league is down or this league is done. But in the end, man, like, I mean, it's still football. That's my biggest thing. But like the way some people were like, oh, the XFL is a garbage league or this league's a garbage league, like, man, I felt like it was too edgy on that. Yeah, it's top end talent. We'll see what happens. I'm real excited about it. That's I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, man. And you get to see so many different players like that you had no idea who they were, and like it's just now it's kind of all coming to fruition and everything like that, and it's we're seeing great time to be alive. Yeah, and like I'm taking my ball home and I'm leaving, John. What kickoff do you think you use? I mean, I'm not going to speculate on rules or anything like that. I'd like to believe that they're going to stick with the XFL or the USFL's kickoff. Like I get it's player safety, so maybe they'll go XFL, but I do like the traditional kickoff because as long as they, in my opinion, they need to stick with whatever the NFL is doing, because what are these guys going to do when they go to the NFL? Get ready to learn special teams, my dude. So when they're doing all that stuff, like, is Frank Ginda, does he need to be an all-talent linebacker, or does he need to be able to cover punts and kicks and do all that stuff in the traditional kick return? So if the NFL is doing an XFL-style kickoff, then yeah, go with it, bro. I mean, dude, I think we just jumped up 7 more people in here, so appreciate everyone new. If you're new, please drop a like, all that goofy stuff. Man, I think St. Louis, I think they'll easily break 40. I think they'll easily break 40. If they aren't, like, I mean, we're missing out, but dude, yeah, I definitely see them breaking 40. They have to. It's gonna be, I think there's a level of trust now, believe it or not. That, okay, it's coming back, we're doing it, like, we're not going to abandon you, so I do believe that they are in a better place moving forward right now. I mean, yeah, but you got, 55K is great and all, but you got to break 40. You got to break 40 to break 50. Jim Hart, yeah, with the St. Louis Cardinals, by the way. Bobby, do you know Charles Coe, Bobby? Probably do. Birmingham, yeah, that's my mentor, by the way. Birmingham Stallions looking solid with the roster. Yeah, I mean, when you're the 3-time champ, it doesn't get much better than that. Appreciate the comment, by the way. I know you're first comment on this stream, but yeah, it doesn't get much better than that, man. I mean, Stallions are the cream of the crop, and you could talk about talent level, all that stuff, but in the end, these rosters have been decimated by the NFL. They've been decimated by free agency and whatnot. Guys have retired. Guys, they've released guys. It's a completely different team. Not everyone signed their LOIs that departed from the NFL. Yeah, Bobby, he's a genius. Yeah, and I'm definitely very curious to see what happens as far as what status is and whatnot. John, did you go down on the field pregame by the way, or were you on the field? Because I didn't go on the field during the game, but I was on pregame, and right before we went up to the media box, it was one of the most dynamic experiences I've ever been a part of. Like the vibe and just talking to everyone and whatnot. Like it didn't get much better than that. If you can see from Ball Hawk 1, by the way, we got our towel over there, and you can't really see up there. Just a couple comments and whatnot. Zanman, appreciate the comment. Hope you dropped a like and subbed. I mean, are you a Houston guy, or are you going to be going to the game? Yeah, I mean, John, it was pretty dynamic. I'm very curious to see what's going to happen in the future with this, as far as how many people show up, how many people go to the games, all that goofy stuff. Like, I mean, I think they're in a good spot. I think people are going to be invested. I don't see them not. You're a Battlehawks fan? Well, you might like this. If you aren't subscribed to the channel, I definitely recommend you are, because I definitely have John Alexander and Trey Watson interviews on my page. You should definitely check those out. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing, John. Like I think that you went to the Orlando. Yeah, well, we confirmed that. But yeah, that was one of the greatest like experiences, and like I don't know, it just, you still feel that energy when you're around them, man. I mean, the city of St. Louis, I'm not from there, but these people deserve everything and more. They've been through so much. They've dealt with all that. MVP package. Oh man, that would be pretty crazy. I mean, might as well. Talk to one of my buddies about that. It's funny, going on the rock a little bit when he was like, "Oh, I sold all this Terramana." I'm like, "Yeah, but like you own 8 venues essentially that are forced to buy it." So, I don't know. Yeah, so Dave, you're the Travis Feeney guy, right? Do you think Daryl? I mean, if you're asking, do I think Daryl Johnson? Yeah. I mean, I have an interview with Travis after the Vegas game. Dave, I don't know if you saw that, but it's pretty good. He's awesome, dude. Do I think Daryl Johnson returns? Yeah, I think I do, because I think he's a football guy. I think Larson dropped this. Yeah, he's awesome, dude. I think Larson like said this or something like that. It's like Mike Mitchell said this. I mean, maybe they both did at this point. I don't know. I don't care enough to remember. But Daryl Johnson was with the AAF. He was with the XFL 2020. Obviously, the VP and then president of this iteration of the USFL. Why would he not be around? He's good friends with Bob Stoops, I believe. He's really awesome guy. Yeah, he's personable. Everyone I know has interacted with him, has said nothing but good things. Him and Bob were together with the Arlington Renegades. And also he's a Super Bowl champion, a lot of connections in the media, all that goofy stuff. Like, I know the End Zone like worked with him. Yeah, and why would you not utilize a guy who has that much knowledge and whatnot to be in your back pocket, just someone to bounce ideas, even if he has like one of those silly pseudo advisor roles, advisor to the president or something like that, or assistant to the president. Why would you not have that guy around? So I don't understand why you wouldn't do that. But in the end, like, they're going to do whatever they feel is right. And, hopefully that translates into something pretty amazing. Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I'm glad you're okay. Glad, everything's going half decent with you. And, it's just real great to, see you around and whatnot. So I'm just glad you're doing well, man. Guys, I'm going to do about 8 more minutes and then we'll push on from there. So once again, I hope everyone is doing well. It's been a really good stream. K-Hoop. Yeah, I mean, you got to go champs first champs, just kind of, for lack of a better term, put the trash talking to bed and just like let it happen and let them go, and just let them go at it and see what happens. Like, let's see what's going on. Hey, Dave, always good talking with you, man. Appreciate you checking in. And tell your son hey and all that goofy stuff. Hey, I'm trying, Dave. Like I said, I got two guests coming on a little bit later on Friday or so. Yeah, I'm doing God's work out there. Make sure you drop that like before you jump out. But Tanker 3278, man, appreciate you checking in. Mark, yep, thank you, man. So yeah. So probably going to go about another 10 minutes, guys. I appreciate everyone checking in and, just going through it. Been updating Twitter a little bit as well. So we're pushing on with it and then some. 23 likes, guys. I think, not to be edgy, if I got this, and I hate, I'm becoming one of those weird guys, but if I got up to like 50 likes, I'd feel pretty good about that. I don't know. It's such a crazy dynamic, interacting with everyone. I don't know what the view count is or anything like that, but we've been pretty much hovering around like 25 people the whole time. It's been great talking to everyone and whatnot. Stallion, okay, Tanker. So the teams right now that we believe they are for the USFL, the Birmingham Stallions, Michigan Panthers, Memphis Showboats, and Houston Gamblers. That is what Scooby Wright put out based off the tweet he put out of the text message the USFLPA sent him. Now, the Battlehawks look to be on the XFL side, DC Defenders, San Antonio Brahmas, and the Arlington Renegades on the XFL side. So that's kind of where we sit at right now with everything going on. It makes sense based off, there's been a lot of different things going on. So we'll see what happens. Keep it up in the air and whatnot. But that's really where we're at right now. Tanker, the big thing, and if you're new here, please like, subscribe, all that stuff. There's going to be a dispersal draft. So it looks like they're going to be able to protect 42 players and then an additional 20 from there. Hey, man, call is the law. John, I look forward to seeing you in the near future, man. It's going to be great. Buy you a drink or something like that. But yeah, like I said, then they'll have a dispersal draft. And then from there, it'll, probably bounce up to 90 is what it's looking at. So we'll see what happens. It's gonna be a pretty wild time, man. And then what I've been reiterating on the stream constantly, and a lot of people have put in the comments as well is, these are people's lives that are, getting jerked around with. These are people that that are having their futures pumped up and down. So with that being said, you gotta be very cognizant of everything going on and like trying to be semi-respectful of like what people are doing, how they're going to react to this. Like there's just a lot of different factors in my opinion that, it's going to be life-changing. So, at that point I kind of feel like, what can we do, as people on the outside? I think it's quite simple. I think you just support the brand. You support the people who are doing all this. You support, the coaches, the players, I'm not saying reach out to them, stalk them or anything, but you continue to watch the games. You continue to do right. You continue to, push on and lack of a better term, just kind of grind with it. And we'll see what happens. Moving forward with everything going on, don't really have anything else left to say. Anyone got any comments before we kick off, man? Appreciate everyone checking in. I think we've had over 200 views or close to 200 views on this. Anyone got anything left to say on it? Because I think we've talked in circles for a little bit, and we've had some good conversations as well. I think it hasn't been too crazy on anything on that front. I think, there's a lot to be said, but we are kind of playing with our fingers and toes a little bit going into 2024. Obviously, it's a little daunting, but there is also a possible expected merger drop tomorrow. So I don't think I'm going to do a live stream on it tomorrow. Probably just do a video or something like that. But I mean, we'll see. In the end, I mean, it's been a whole crazy time. So the conferences have not been announced, but it looks like it's going to be a North and South thing, like we were discussing earlier. So it'll probably be DC. I don't think they're going to do a USFL XFL conference. I think that would kind of lead to some more division and whatnot. I think we're going to go DC, Birmingham, DC, Birmingham, DC, St. Louis, Memphis and Michigan, Birmingham, Houston, San Antonio, and Arlington. So I think that makes the most sense. I think, by doing that, it's pretty fair and whatnot as well. I think it brings us the best opportunity to have a good thing going on. Here's a tweet by Darius Victor as well. Most rush yards, modern career. Most scrimmage yards, modern career. Most rushing touchdowns in a game, modern career. So that was the send off by Darius Victor on his Twitter as well. There's a lot of good guys to be following right now, man. I'll tell you that much. It's been a pretty dynamic situation with all this going on, man. It really, really is. So, any other final questions, guys, as we wrap up? Zan, appreciate you. Hopefully you dropped a like and subscribed. We got a bunch of good stuff going on as well. Like I said, I got a couple of interviews popping up at the end of the week, going into early next week. And get some Christmas presents as well. Then I got some potential, a couple more. So it's gonna be a pretty wild time. I'll tell you what. Thanks, man. I appreciate the support. The more we keep growing, the more cool stuff we can do. And, I'm just hoping to be able to keep putting out decent stuff. Looking to invest in camera as well. I'm pretty stoked about what we got going on right now, but I definitely think we can do it bigger and better. But yeah, that's really what we got on that front. I'm going to do a final refresh and then log off on that. See what we got going on. Yep. All right, guys, I'm going to end up this stream right now. So appreciate you guys. Drop a like, comment, all that goofy stuff. I think we killed it, man. I think we did a really good job. So I'm really looking forward to seeing everyone's support and whatnot. So y'all have a great night, guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, David.